What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to talk about a new subject. The subject is persistence in Windows. So first let's talk about persistence definition. Now persistence is a mechanism where we maintain access to the machine that we have compromised. So say we have compromised a Windows machine, okay? And this machine we have got access, say as user called Bob, okay? And then we managed to escalate to admin. So after we have got access and escalated the privileges to admin, now we need a method to get back to the machine whenever we want. So say that if the machine is restarted, our access will be cut. We won't be able to get back to the machine, we won't be able to log in back, and that's it. So that's why there are persistence mechanisms that will let you create accounts or perform other techniques, so you will be able to maintain access to the Windows you have compromised. So which means you will be able to log in back to the Windows machine in case, even if the machine has been restarted by the administrator, even if you just, let's say, terminated your connection to the Windows machine, you will be able to get back to the machine whenever you want by using persistence mechanisms. That's the definition of persistence. Now let's talk about the difference between persistence and privileged escalation. Sometimes people confuse privileged escalation with persistence. The fact that persistence is a step that you take after you escalate the privileges. So first you escalate the privileges and then you perform persistence. So privilege escalation is merely a move from an unprivileged account such as Bob into a more privileged account such as admin. That is privilege escalation. Now privilege escalation facilitates persistence, that's right, but sometimes you don't even need to be admin to create persistence mechanisms. Even if sometimes if you have got access as user Bob, you can leave backdoors and then get back to the machine, but as the user Bob. We prefer to perform privilege escalation before we conduct persistence. So privilege escalation is merely, as I said earlier guys, is a way to move up the ladder from an unprivileged user to a privileged user to facilitate actions such as the persistence is one of them, and other actions such as dumping the passwords, dumping hashes, performing privileged actions on the machine, while persistence is concerned mainly on maintaining your access to the Windows machine, as we mentioned in the definition. Now there are many techniques in persistence. We will talk about these techniques, okay? Basically, first in this video we will talk about account tampering techniques. So account tampering techniques are persistence techniques that you would perform which are related to the accounts registered on the Windows machine we talked about. So we have three methods, and of course I think there are more, but today we will talk about three. So A, we will talk about creating a new accounts. So when we get access to the machine as an admin, say we will create new users and assign them to privileged groups. Now privileged groups are actually limited on any Windows machine. So we have the administrators group, we have the backup operators, and other groups we will talk about. So once we add the user to these groups, once we add a new user to these groups, we will be able to log in back to the machine either using RDP or WinRM, and I think you won't be noticed. The next method is cracking accounts hashes. Now cracking account hashes can be performed by downloading the SAM and system Hives, but this action is limited to only the administrators. So we are back to privileged escalation. When you escalate the privileges as an admin, you can go ahead and download the SAM and system Hives. Once you do that, you will be able to try your luck and find the passwords for the administrator account. Once you find the password for the administrator account, you can now log in as the administrator either using RDP or WinRM. But again, you're using an account that isn't yours. If the system administrator or the incident responder decided to take a look at the session logs or the account logs, they will see suspicious logins by you, right? So they will suspect that this account is compromised. They will change the password and terminate your access. So that's why we prefer to create a new account. But we're not saying that cracking account hashes isn't helping. It is helping, as you will be able to log in as an admin for a limited time, and by being an admin you will be able to do actions or create persistence mechanisms. The last one we will talk about today is the RID hijacking. So RID is a relative ID. It's assigned to accounts. So we have something called the SIDs. Now SID is a combination of numbers and strings. Actually it is numbers, but the last bit of the SID, sometimes it is 500, sometimes it is 100, whatever it is. This is called the RID. Every account has a unique RID. Administrator has an RID that's different from another account. In RID hijacking, we aim to make the system or make Windows think that Bob has an RID that is the same as the admin's. So the system thinks now or treats Bob as an administrator. So in this method, we will try to find out what is the RID of the admin, okay, and then we will work on assigning that RID to Bob. So say Bob has 100 and admin has 500. So we will make sure to change the RID of Bob into 500, so that the system will treat Bob as an administrator. Alright, so now let's talk about how this works in practicality. The examples we will take today is a room from TryHackMe that has been released recently. It is about Windows Local Persistence, and this is it. Deploy the machine, and we have to find out 3 flags. So if we scroll down, so flag 1, flag 2, and flag 3. Now flag 1 has to do with creating a new user, as we illustrated earlier. So let's go now and take the steps necessary to achieve the persistence using the first method, which is creating new users. Alright, so after you deploy the machine, let's now go back to the virtual machine here, log in. Alright, so from here we have access to the compromised machine, and we assume that you have access to the machine, right? You want to create persistence on. So let's spawn a command prompt. Alright, and from here let's go ahead and create a new user. Or let's see what are the users we have. So we have many users here: THM user 0, THM user 3, 4, 1, 2. So in order to obtain the flag for the first question, we will have to work with THM user 0. So we will add this user to the administrator group. So you can do that by using net local group administrators THM user 0 add. So once you do that, you'll be able to you will have added the user to the administrators group. Now you can verify the step by issuing the command net groups. This command can only be used on a Windows domain controller. So this is not Windows domain controllers. Alright, that's fine. Now let's also add THM user 0 to a group called the backup operators. Now any user who is part of the backup operators can have read write to any file or registry key. So this is another privileged group we can add the new users into. So basically we can issue net, we can say net local group backup operators THM user, and let's add this time the user 1. /add. So now we have added THM user 1 to the backup operators and THM user 0 to the administrators group. Now the next step is to log in using THM user 0 or THM user 1, okay, back to the system. So before doing that, we will need to decide what is the method that we will use to log in to the Windows machine using these users. We have two methods. We have the Evil-WinRM, or we can use the RDP. In both cases, we will have to add the chosen users to the remote management users. Adding the user to the remote management users allows the user to log in using Evil-WinRM. Okay, so let's go ahead and add net local group. So say we can add the user THM user 1 to the remote management users. THM user 1 /add. Alright, now the next step, we will have to make sure that no errors are encountered when we log in as this user. So basically, there is the mechanism that's called user account control. Okay, we will have to disable this feature in order to have seamless experience when we log in using Evil-WinRM as this user. So basically we can do that. Let's see, where is the command persistence. So there was this one. So using this command, we disable the local account token filter policy, which is part of the user access control. So paste this here, and as you can see, the operation completed successfully. Now let's log in, okay, from my machine. So a new tab, and I'm going to use Evil-WinRM. Just making sure that I have the tool installed. That's fine. Evil-WinRM-I, the IP address of the target. I copied the IP from the room, okay, and then I choose the user THM user 1, and then the password. The password is password 321. Let's see if we are able to log in as this user, and then we inspect the privileges. And as you can see, we have successfully logged in as THM user 1 and achieved persistence. So now, whenever we want, guys, we can log in as THM user 1. Now let's inspect what are the groups that this user is part of. Who am I /groups. I think I have made a typo here, guys. Let's wait for the prompt to come back. Let's terminate the session. Okay, who am I /groups. So let's see, we are part of users, and as you can see, we are part of the backup operators and remote management users. These actions were taken by us when we were tampering with the account. So if we haven't added the user to the backup operators and the remote management users, we wouldn't be able to, or we wouldn't have been able to log in using Evil-WinRM. So adding the user to the remote management users is a very important part of the persistence mechanism you are taking. You want to be sure you're able to log in using Evil-WinRM if that was your choice. Alright, now the next step, you can be done by now, guys. Just adding you have achieved persistence, added a new user, and that user now is part of privileged group called the backup operators and the remote management users. Say you want to take things further. So what you can do here, you can download the system and SAM Hives you can try your luck and crack the admin hashes or other account hashes. So you can use reg save hklm system.back. This way you are downloading the system hive, and then you can repeat the same command but replace system with sam. Alright, one thing to note here, guys, is you won't be able to execute these commands successfully if you don't add the user to the backup operators or other privileged groups such as the administrators. Alright, so let's say that we only added THUser1 to the remote management users. We will be able to log in using Evil-WinRM back to the system, but we won't be able to download the system and SAM hives because the account here is not part of any administrative or privileged group other than the backup operators, which we made sure we add the user to that group when we actually perform the persistence. So these actions are privileged. Make sure to add the user to privileged groups as we mentioned earlier. Alright, once we do that, now we will download the backups to our system. Okay, so the download is successful. Let's proceed and do the same for the SAM hive. Okay, now download is successful. Now let's turn our heads back to the local machine or my machine, attacker machine. And I have the SAM and system now. So let's open a new tab or split the view here. I just want to make sure that I have the necessary tools to crack these hashes. Let's see. Dip, impacket, examples. Yeah, so we will use SecretStump, guys, which is, where is it? So SecretStump here. So I'm gonna move these two files, alright, to this path. So mv SAM system into this path. Nope. Okay. All right. So we have them here, the SAM and the system hives. Okay, so SecretStump dash SAM dash system local. So we start the process. Hopefully we'll be able to find the hashes of all the accounts, including the admin. And indeed, guys, let's see here what are the hashes. So we have the administrator hash, we have other accounts, THUser 1, 2, 3, 0, and 4. So our objective is to log in as the administrator, guys. Let's see here, where is administrator hash? Okay, so this is the hash, NTLM hash. We will take this and log in using Evil-WinRM. So again, Evil-WinRM-I. Have to copy the IP from there and -u administrator-h. And now we have logged in as the administrator, guys. Now let's proceed and extract the first flag. So cd and we go to flags and execute flag 1. And this is the flag, guys. So let's go ahead and put the flag in as the answer. Alright, so that is for flag 1. Now we're gonna proceed and all of these sessions exit. Okay, I'm going to remove these hives from here as they take too much space. System. Okay, exit, clean the mess. Okay, let's go back now to the machine. So we are back to the virtual machine, guys. Now we have experienced how to create new users and add them to privileged groups. At the same time, we have seen how to log into the machine using the users that we have created. Now let's talk about another technique in the persistence, so which is here the special groups. So we have seen how to add the user to administrator group, to the backup operators. Now we will talk about other two groups. They are called special groups. So these are the first one. The first one is say backup privilege, and other one is say restore privilege. So these two groups are actually targets when we want to achieve persistence. We may try to add the users that we have created to these groups. So why these groups? These are special groups. The first one, the backup privileged. Any user who is part of this group can read any file in the system. Any file. So basically it means if we are part of the backup privileged, we can read files including the sensitive files, and if we are part of the restore privileged, we can write any file in the system. So here we can read any file, and here we can write any file, regardless of any discretionary access control list in place. So if we add users to one of these groups, okay, or both of them, and we are successful, or if we are successful in logging in with that user, we will be able to perform privileged actions on the system. So basically these are two methods as well to perform persistence. Now let's go back and see how this works. The first thing, we will create a configuration file. Okay, so we go back to the command line and issue the following command: sec edit /export configurations, and in the file configuration.inf. See log Windows directory security logs for details. Okay, now we will need to open the file using Notepad. So this is the file config.inf. You can open the file using Notepad. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to search for say backup. Alright, so as you can see, we have the say backup privilege. What we can do here, guys, we can add a comma, okay, and add the user, okay, whom we want to be part of this group. So let's say it is thm user 2. Alright, and next we will search for restore, the other group, and we will find it here. So again, add thm user 2, and then we will save the file. So save, close the file. The last thing that we will do, guys, we will want to convert the file here, which has the extension inf, to an SDB file. so we can load the configuration back to the system. This step is very necessary, so we can use secedit / import configuration file, which is config.inf, into the database, say config.db. Right, and then secedit to configure the system with the new configuration, secedit / configure db, which we created earlier, config.db from the configuration file svg config.inf. Oops, this. The task has completed successfully. See log. Yeah. So now we should have the user THM user 2. So net user. So now THM user 2 guy is part of the C backup privilege, backup privilege and restore privilege, which means THM user 2 now is part, or not part, let's say it has privileges that's equal to any user who is part of the backup operator group that we saw earlier in the first step. Now the next step, now the user still cannot log into the system via Evil-WinRM or WinRM. So what we can do now, we need to make sure that the user is able to log in back using Evil-WinRM. So let's go back to the notes and perform the step to disable the local account token filter policy using the registry. I know we have performed this step, but let's do it again. Say yes. Okay. Now the next step, we will need to change the security descriptor associated with the Evil-WinRM or the WinRM service to allow THM user 2 to connect. So since THM user 2 isn't part of the remote management users, we will need to change the security descriptor. It's kind of access control list. Alright, we are only performing this step because THM user 2 isn't part of the remote management users. Okay, so we will need now to open PowerShell and change the security descriptor here. Let's see where is the command. Where is the command? I don't think I have it. Yeah, this one. Let's make this font bigger. Alright, so we have this. So now we're going to add THM user 2, guys. So add THM user 2. Okay, and now as you can see, we have added the user THM user 2. We're going to give it full control using this here. Alright, and after we do that, we're going to click on apply and okay. So once we have done this, the user THM user 2 can connect via WinRM, and it doesn't have to be part of the remote management users. Since now the user has the backup and restore privileges, okay, we can repeat the same steps, guys, that we have performed earlier and attempt to download the system and SAM Hives. Alright, so let's go back now to my machine and log in as THM user 2. So Evil-WinRM, this time will be THM user 2. Alright, as you can see, we have successfully logged in as THM user 2. Who am I /groups. So now I am part of users network authenticated. Alright, let's examine the user itself. User THM user 2. Let's see here. So this user looks like a regular user, nothing suspicious at all. If we execute who am I /brev as you can see, we have the backup and restore privilege because we have enabled these privileges back. Now, after you have performed these steps, guys, you have now a user called THMuser2, which you can use to log in back to the machine. But still, you are not an admin in the machine. What we can do, guys, you can attempt again and download the system and SAM Hives we have performed in the earlier steps. All right. So we will not do that because we have performed these steps earlier, but we can do them to practice. We're gonna go ahead now, cd-c, and obtain the flag. So flag 2. Hopefully this will work. This is THM. I am just a normal user. And that was the next flag. Now let's talk about the last Windows or account tampering related persistence, Windows persistent technique, which is the RID hijacking. Let's go back to the board. So we explained earlier, guys, that RID hijacking is one of the methods to perform Windows persistence. So basically, when a user is created, say it is Bob, okay, an identifier called RID or relative ID is assigned to them. It's actually simply a numeric identifier, such as 100 can be 500. It represents the user across the system. So when a user logs in, okay, the system gets its RID from the SAM registry hive. SAM hive. Okay. So from this hive, the system can retrieve the RIDs of the users, and using this identifier, it can distinguish between users and their associated privileges. So if we can tamper with the registry value of the RID, since RIDs are held and stored in the SAM hive in the registry, if we can tamper them, we can make Windows assign administrative access token to a non-privileged user, as we explained earlier. Change the RIDs. So first, let's take a look at the RIDs that we have. So let's exit from here. And now we're back to system here. Okay. WMIC user account get name SID. As you can see, for every account we have the SID. Now the last bit here, it is the RID. As you can see, for the administrator it is 500. For THMuser3, which is the target of this task, it has 110 or 1010 as the RID. So this ID, guys, as you can see, this is the SID. It is the identifier that allows the operating system to identify a user across a domain. But we won't mind too much about the rest of this for the current task. So what we want to do, guys, we want to assign the RID 500 to the THMuser3. Alright, so to do that, we need access to the registry. And the registry can only be accessed by privileged users. So again, we're back to the privilege escalation that you will need to perform before attempting any persistence techniques. The SAM is restricted to the system account only. Okay, the system account. So even the administrators cannot access the SAM. They need to be the system account or the net authority system. So to get around this, guys, we will run the registry, or will access the registry as system using psexec. So fortunately, the authors of this room have uploaded a version of psexec for you. You can find it in cd under tools, cd ps tools, psexec. Okay, this is it. We use psexec 64. So psexec and then -i-s reg edits. So now we can access the registry, guys, in a privileged mode. So in order to change the RIDs, we're going to head to HKLM, the SAM, go to machine, SAM, and from SAM we will look for domains, accounts, users. Okay then. So look at these. These values are in hex. So these values are the RIDs, guys, but they are written in hex format. For example, 3F2 corresponds to 1010. So 1010 is the RID of THM user 2, if you remember. THM user 3. So this is 1010, and in hex it corresponds to this value. Okay, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to work on this value and change it. So locate F here. Alright, F holds the user's effective RID. So we're going to right click or double click, and we're going to locate the hexadecimal value. In here it is 03F2, but the RID is stored using little endian notation, so the bytes appear reversed. As you can see here, first we have the F2 and next we have the 03. What we need to do here, we need to replace those 2 bytes with the RID of the administrator in hex format. So in hex format it corresponds to this one. So this is the RID of the administrator, but in hex format, 01F4. Alright, so we're going to go back to 03F2, double click on F2. So to modify these values, what you have to do, guys, you have to highlight, make sure to highlight the value that will be changed only. So F2, highlight this one like that. Okay, make sure only F2 is highlighted, and make sure that the other hex values aren't changed. So F2 will become F4. See, nothing has changed, only F4. And to change 03, we're gonna highlight this. Nope, this one. Alright, until it is highlighted, and then change this to 01. As you can see, all of the other hex values remain intact. Now we click on OK, and we have successfully changed the RID of the THM user 3. Next time THM user 3 logs in, what's going to happen? The system will associate the RID of the administrator with this user, THM user 3. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to log in now as THM user 3 and see what happened. And this time it didn't work. Okay, let's try using RDP. So let's exit the current connection. No need for this one anymore. Okay. Edit the current connection settings. So instead of administrator, we will attempt to log in as THM user 3. Password 321. And we are logged in. Okay. So who am I? Administrator. Okay, I think I am suspicious now. Let me exit this one. So home. Edit. Okay. I'm going to delete this current connection and create a new one. So here's the IP 10.10.195.71. Username is THM user 3, and the password is uppercase P, password 321. Alright, now let's see if we can. As you can see, we are logged in at the administrator prompt, which means the step that we have taken previously was successful. Let's make this bigger. Okay, now let's review the SIDs. So WMIC, user, account, get name, SID. So still THM user 3 is actually has the same RID 1010, but as you can see, when we logged in as THM user 3, we were presented with the administrator prompt. Who am I? You are the administrator. So basically the system thought that we are the administrator and logged us as the administrator. So now let's go ahead and dump or extract the flag, the third flag. And that was flag 3. So that was the first task, guys. In the upcoming videos, we're going to explore more persistence techniques in Windows. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I will see you later.